dash line.
So yeah, this lesson's all about graphing a linear. So you're going to be doing all that shading stuff, okay?
Oh yeah.
But before you can really do anything on this one, you really want to take this line and get it into slope-intercept form or standard form, one of the two. We'll start out with slope-intercept form. So 6y plus 6 is right. So if you want to do slope-intercept form, we would move the 6 over.
6y.
And then we would divide.
X 6. So just be
X.
y.
1/6 x
Over
minus 1.
1 over.
And that is your
-1.
So that's slope-intercept form, right?
as your
Okay, so how do I know if my line that I'm going to need to make is solid or dashed?
There's no equal to.
It's equal to or not equal to is the
Right,
difference
so if
between
there's no
dash and
equal
solid.
sign, that means dashed because you're not including the line, right? So we want to select dashed. So you would select dashed on your thing, just mark it on your sheet there. And now we have to enter 2 points on this line. In order to tell the iPad to graph this line, it needs 2 points.
So just put it on there.
So here's a point right here. You can't put the points on, you have to put them over here by name,
Well,
okay?
You put your line on there, can't you?
Nope.
So you just pick
It draws the line for you based on whatever points you submit here, okay? So what
so
point,
-1 is 1.
yeah, where do I put the -1? As the y. So 0, -1. There's one of your points, that's your y-intercept.
Where do you go?
So that point will show up on your graph when you do that. So that point will show up here. So from then, you can go down 1 and right 6, or
So
you
6
can go,
-2.
listen,
Up 1 and
listen,
left
you can go up 1 and left 6, which is an x-intercept, okay, which is a super easy one to figure out. So I'm going to go with that one, -6, 0. But it would be fine if you use the other one as well, okay? So there's the 2 points. The 2 points will show up on your graph just like that, and it will make a dashed line through those points. So if I make a dashed line through those points, it's going to look something like that. And now at this point, you have to tell it which side to shade. Now, as soon as this line pops up, an A and a B will pop up. So maybe an A here and a B here, and you'll have to tell it which side do you want to shade, A or B. Well, that's all based on this symbol right here. That's a less than symbol. That means put your pencil on the line and go straight down. Since it's less than, that lands us in region A. So we select region A, and when you select region A, it automatically shades all this for you. I guess I could use my shading tool.
So, how do you know if it's A or B?
By the this sign right here.
If it's less
I mean, it'll say A or B. Once the line shows up, an A will show up on one side and a B on the other. Okay, and then you'll select that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all there is to example 1. Everybody okay with example 1?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me see if I can scroll
Graph the
this.
solution of the first linear inequality.
Okay, so here's example 2.
We're just doing the 6x plus 8y.
So yeah, the step 1 is to do this line, step 2 is to do this one, and then step 3 is to say I want to union them or I want to intersect them. Remember that this is an and problem. So if you have an and problem, when we get to the end, are we going to overlap or unite?
Unite.
We're going to unite, right? Everybody good with that? Okay, so on the first one, I need to know if it's solid or dotted.
It's dotted.
Okay, so dashed line. So select that, and now I need 2 points on that line. Well, that line's already in standard form, right? And as long as you don't have a negative here, you're good. If you have a negative here, we got a problem, because that means when you go to slope-intercept form, that would flip the inequality, okay? But if this is a positive, I'm just going to leave it in slope-intercept or in standard form, and I'm going to find my intercepts from there, okay? So 48 divided by 8 will give me what?
6.
6.
6, but what is it? What does it represent? Is that the x-intercept or the y-intercept? That's the y-intercept, because if I let this be 0, that would go away. So 6 is my y-intercept. So I go to the y and put a 6 and put a 0 in the other slot.
Then your x is 8.
So yeah, if I cover this one up, 48 divided by 6, that is 8. So that means my x-intercept is 8, so I put an 8, 0. So essentially what I did there was I said, hey, 6x equals 48 means that x is equal to 8, and 8y equals 48, if you're wanting notes there on that. Y equals 6, so that's why I put this 8 here, and why I put the 6 here.
Do you have to put like the x, y axis thing first for the 2 points? Or does it matter what, like if you were to put 8, 0 on the left side and then 0, 6 on the right side?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't, any 2 points on the line will work. Okay, so once you say that, it's going to actually plot those 2 points. So here's 8 on the x-axis and 6 on the y. And you told me I needed a dashed line. So something like this. And once the line shows up, it will also name the regions. It'll say, hey, this is A, this is B. Which one do you want to shade? Okay, well, you go back up here and look. I got a less than symbol, and you want to make sure that this is not a negative. If that was a negative, then when I went to slope-intercept form, that would flip this around, and you always go with what it would be in slope-intercept form. Okay? So less than means to go below, so I put my pencil on the line and go below, and that lands me in region B. So we want to select region B. And then I'm going to shade region B.
Jeez.
Okay?
So,
Everybody okay with step 1 of example 2? So step 1 was to graph this line. Step 2 is going to be to graph this line.
Solid.
sorry.
Okay, so here's your step 2. Okay, so step 2. On this one right here, what type of line do I have?
A solid.
Solid vertical line, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So
This
the
is
slope is undefined.
correct, but they don't ask me for that.
Oh.
But they do want me to graph this line, and if we were not using this program, we would simply come over here and draw a vertical line down through the x-axis at -2.
Yeah.
But in order to get the iPad to graph it, you have to tell it 2 points that are on that line. So can you name for me a point that would be
0,
0, 2 would be up here.
2. Oh, I mean
2,
2,
0.
2, 0, because x is 2, right?
Yeah.
2, 0,
1.
and 2, 1, 2, anything you want, right?
Yeah.
2, 0, 2, 1, 2, -10, 2, anything you want. Okay? So then you will see those 2 points show up, and we will draw a solid line down through those 2 points.
Here's the tricky.
So let's see, you told me it was solid,
So that's the
and so this is the only time you are ever allowed to think left, right instead of up, down.
Greater than is right.
Greater than's to the right, less than's to the left. Which one do we have? We have greater than, right? So I want to shade to the right of that thing, and we'll say this is C and this is D. So I want to shade region D.
You know that now.
Okay, everybody okay with that? Okay, so that's step 2. Step 3 is going to have both lines already drawn for you, and it's going to ask if you want to overlap, or it'll say intersect or union.
No.
So this is what your step 3 looks like.
Union.
Okay.
No, it's intersect.
They intersect.
They're not uniting on one thing. They're not going.
Okay, so and the word was and means, where do they overlap? Which one of those words means overlap? Intersect or union?
Intersect.
Intersect. So I choose intersect. And was my first one above or below the line?
It's below.
Okay, so my first one was shaded here.
So it'd be the.
My
whoa.
second one was shaded to the right.
So
Let's go for pink, like this.
pink and yellow.
And where do they overlap at?
The
Red.
quadrant. They're. Is that-
Where you see both colors, right?
Yeah.
Wherever you see both colors. Now, you guys don't have to do any of this shading. All you have to do is tell it to that you want to intersect them, and that will automatically show up as shaded. Okay, so you just choose this, and then you'll see this light up, and you'll know you're done. Okay, which is really nice. If you're doing these on paper, they take forever with the shading, so the computer lesson's actually pretty nice on this one. Everybody okay with that? Okay, ready for example 3.
This is gonna be an easy one.
Yeah, it is.
Jesse still ain't having that one.
Okay, so we have an OR problem. So this is the same type of problem I had on the last one, but this time I have an OR, so it means when I get done, instead of overlapping, I'm going to unite them, union them, all right? So step 1 is to do this line, step 2 is to do this line, and the step 3 is to unite them together, all right? So step 1, to graph this one, I want to get it in slope, intercept form. Flip your signs, because, so that's the first thing we're going to do, is we are going to change all of our signs and flip the inequality. Okay, and then we're going to divide by 4. So if I divide by 4, I get 3/4 x plus 3. Okay, so you might even do something to denote that you switch the sign. Put a star by it, something, I don't know what, but make sure you know that you flipped that sign. Okay, so is this line solid or dotted?
Dotted.
Which they call dashed. So I selected this, and now I need 2 points on that line. 0, 3 would be my y-intercept.
And then you go up 3 and over 4.
Okay, so let's go ahead and plot that point. And now you can either go up
Down
3.
3.
Yeah, down 3 is going to land you right on the axis, so that's the way I'd go.
Over
Yeah,
4.
but then you gotta go over 4.
To the left,
4, 0.
right? So it gives you the x-intercept, right? So you can put either point. It doesn't matter. If you want to go up 3 and over 4, that's fine. You just have to name that point, which doesn't look too hard to name. But I'm going to do the x-intercept, which is -4, 0. So -4, 0 is right there. I need a dashed line. So right there is my line. So once you've done that, your regions will show up, and it'll say, hey, do you want to shade region A or region B? Well, it's now a greater than symbol, and if you forgot to switch it, this is where you're going to miss the problem, okay? Greater than, so greater than means put your pencil on the line and go straight up, right? Don't think left or right, think up or down, unless it's vertical. So now I'm going to shade that side of my line. Okay? Which you can shade as well on your graph if you want. Okay, that was step 1. Everybody okay with step 1?
Yeah.
Okay, step 2. Step 2 is to do the second one. So I need to start it the same way. Get it. It's easy to get it to slope-intercept form by dividing by a 6, right? So divide by a 6. I don't need to flip my inequality because my 6 is not negative. So
-4 thirds
x plus 8.
okay, so that means I've got a solid or dashed line.
Solid.
It's solid. My y-intercept is at 0, 8. And I need one more point, so I could go, what, down 4 and right 3? So if I go down 4 and right 3, that'll land me right here. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, down 4, right 3, so that's at
4.
3, 4. So I can put that point right here. And you know, you don't have to use that one. You can even go down 4 and over 3 again. You could use this one if you wanted. Okay. So whatever point you want to use. I need to have a solid line. So there's my solid line. And now it's going to light up as this being region C or D. It could be reverse of that. I don't know which. But which side would we shade if this is a greater than? D. So if I shade region D, it's going to look like that. Does that make sense? Okay, so step 3 is going to be to take those two and unite them onto the same graph. So that means everything you see shaded.
Union.
will be shaded in your answer.
It could be all the B side and then all of the, I think it's A side.
It'd be the union, is just
The top-
or
the top-
equals
full top
union
half.
and equals intersection, right?
Correct. So this one's an or, right?
Yes, it's the union.
Or means union, so I want to select that. And now refresh my memory on the first one. What did we shade above? Didn't we shade
Yeah,
above on both
shade
of them?
above on both.
Okay, so if I shade above on both, there's above on that one, there's above on that one, and that's going to be your answer.
Yes.
Okay, so every point in that shaded region is a solution to the original inequality.
Why do we do so many problems that are this easy? Uh-oh.
Okay. Next example.
Absolute value.
I'm going to get a little tougher.
Let's skip absolute value.
Oh, we can't skip.
If we can't make it through the
Okay,
whole
so on this, you know what? I need to,
What's that?
that doesn't look, hang on. I'll find yours.
What was that though?
My pages are out of order. Okay, right there. Is that what you have?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so on this particular one, all they want you to do is, first of all, this is a absolute value with a greater than. Does that mean and or?
That one and.
If you have an absolute value with a greater than, that means things that are more than 16 units away from zero. So if you're talking about more than 16 units away from zero, that's, here's 16, that would be these numbers.
Yeah.
Here's negative 16, that would also be these numbers over here.
Or.
So that's an or, because you can't be in both at the same time. Okay, so anytime you have a greater than, that means or. So greater than
Or equals.
means or. Okay? Greater than with an absolute value. Absolute value with a greater than means or. Okay, now all they want you to do in these two blanks is write the two inequalities. So remember how we write them? We take the original one and we leave it just like it is. We don't do anything but take the absolute value off. That's how you write the first one.
It was 3x minus 7.
3x minus 7y is greater than 16. Then in the second box, you write the second one, which you do without the absolute value, but what is it that you change?
The sign.
The inequality switches to a less than, and the 16 switches to a negative. And that's all you got to do. You just type those two things in there. You don't have to simplify them, change them in any way, just rewrite them without the absolute value. Okay? Everybody okay with step one?
Yeah.
Okay, now before I move to the next screen, because the next screen, you're basically just choosing to graph out of 4, right?
Okay.
Does the next page have 4 graphs?
Yes.
And you have to pick the correct one.
Okay.
So to pick the correct one, first of all,
Yeah, I don't know which one it is.
We're talking about there's a square around it.
well, first of all, when you look at these two lines that I have right here, tell me about their slopes.
They are the same. Well, they're reciprocal.
Okay, so remember how you find slope in standard form? How do you find slope when you're in standard form?
A over B.
Yeah.
Negative?
Opposite of A.
Right, so don't these two have the exact same slope since they have the same A and the same B?
Yeah.
So if they have the same slope, we expect these two lines to come out how on the graphs?
Same.
Parallel, right? They got to be parallel.
Well, that's.
They both have to be dotted,
Yep.
right? So if you have any solid lines,
Cross them out.
cross them out. They're not even an option. You got to have dotted. Okay, both lines are dotted. Now let's look at our intercepts if we need to,
We definitely need to.
because you have two choices left, right? So just, did they show you the y-intercepts or the x-intercepts? Or I guess you would probably see either one, right? And none of the intercepts are nice numbers, so let's just take, what would 16 divided by 7 be?
Definitely top right.
16 divided by 7 would be the same thing as 2 and 2/7.
So,
So my y, now I found the y-intercept here, right? Now this one's going to give me the same y-intercept with a negative. So you're looking for y-intercepts that are positive and negative 2 and 2/7.
Yeah, it's the bottom line. Bottom right.
So you got to find the graph that's got that. So let's go look at the graphs.
Can't really tell, but you can tell.
Oh, no, yeah, because the other one's way off. It goes past 5.
Okay, so You guys have already canceled out this one, and you're telling me that this one would be at 2 2/7
Yeah.
and negative. That's correct. This one's clearly down here around 5, so this is the answer that you would choose.
Yeah.
Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You don't even really need to worry about the shading because they're both the same way. They're all 4 graphs are on the outside of the lines. Okay, so next example is example 6, which I have to.
This thing still feels so thick.
There's only like 3 left.
4.
3.
Oh, we need to do this one next, don't we? Is that your next example?
That's our next one.
Okay, so this one,
And
this one's an and. We have an absolute value with a less than. So absolute value with a less than means and. So we select and.
You write your inequality.
And you don't even, and this one is easy to simplify. We could subtract 6 from both sides, but it doesn't even make you do that. It just wants you to write it as is and then change it over here. 8x plus 6 is greater than negative 9. Okay? So you write this one here. You just change the inequality and that here. Okay, now, once again, we're going to go choose some graphs. Now, first of all, what kind of lines do you expect to see here if you only have x's?
Dotted.
They are dotted, but if you don't have any y's, not horizontal,
vertical.
vertical.
That's what I meant.
Okay, if you only have an x, you got vertical. Listen.
She has 9, not 19.
Okay, so listen. If I get a graph with 2 vertical lines and they're dotted. Okay, now I need to know about the shading and the intercepts. Okay, so where will they cross the x-axis at if I subtract 6 and divide by 8? 8x is less than...
It's supposed to be 19
No, that is a 19, thank you. Isn't that right? Should be a 19, which means this over here is a negative 19. Okay, so on this one, 19 minus 6 is what, 13?
Yeah.
And 13 divided by 8, 13 divided by 8 is about what, 1 and 5/8?
Yep.
And then over here, 8x is greater than negative 25, because I subtract 6 from both sides. And then x will be greater than, what, negative,
5 over 8.
what is that, 3 and 1/8?
Yep.
3 and 1/8. So that's where I expect my intercepts to be.
So you're going to get...
I want to shade, listen, I want to shade to the left on this one, to the right on this one, and then I want to overlap those 2 regions. So if I've got 2 vertical lines, and on the positive one I want to shade left,
Well, this one's easy because it's... there's
and on the negative one I want to shade right, and then I want to overlap those.
Just down the middle.
It's just down the middle. So I'm looking for shading down the middle on those 2 intercepts.
Top,
Okay?
Top left.
All right, well, let's see.
Yes,
It's the
sir,
only-
it
it's only-
is.
It's the only dotted
It's the
vertical.
only vertical one, so really we didn't even need that.
Yeah, and process of elimination will help you a lot, but sometimes they're not as easy to
Those bottom ones are
cross
ors.
off as these are. So this one right here has got to be our answer, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Those bottom ones are ors.
you are right. So this one is our answer. These were out because they were horizontal,
Yeah.
and that one's clearly a solid line with an or. Okay?
doesn't work.
All right, everybody okay with that one?
Yeah.
One more problem to do,
Uno más. Uno más.
which I have to go backwards for.
Now we have equals to...
Wait.
You're looking for example 6.
Okay.
Which is right here. Okay, now I couldn't get example 6 all on one page. So on example 6, you're choosing from 8 graphs, and there's 4 of them, and there's 4 of them. Okay, so we have to decide which one would be correct. And just because I highlighted that one, I don't necessarily know that that's the right answer. I may have just clicked on that when I screenshotted. Okay, so
You and me.
They're both going to be solid.
Yeah, so go ahead and mark out half of them.
everything is solid, so go ahead and mark out anything with a dotted line. Okay. Okay, so I want you to, this one's really 4 different lines. This one right here is like the last example we did, which was 2 vertical lines. So this one only has x's, so it's going to end up being 2 vertical lines because of the absolute value. This one's only got a y, so it's going to end up being 2 horizontal lines. So I've got 2 verticals that are solid, 2 horizontals that are solid.
So it's
Right?
gonna be the bottom right.
So if you have any graphs that don't have 2 horizontals and 2 horizontals, 2 verticals, all solid, you can cross them out. Okay? All right, now you got to be careful with this one.
They reciprocal.
What does absolute value with a less than mean?
It's a.
And,
I forgot. I don't know.
Absolute value with a less than is an and. So this means I have 2 vertical lines and I'm overlapping their shaded regions. So if I have 2 vertical lines and I overlap their shaded regions, that means I end up shading in between them.
yeah.
Okay? This one is 2 horizontal lines with an and. So that's 2 horizontal lines where I shade in between.
Okay.
So that's going to look like,
So it can't be the top right one,
that's going to look like this.
right? Yeah.
Okay? Now, so this is the answer to this one. This is the answer to this one. Now I have an or in between them. What does or mean?
Like it can't be the mid. You can't have the. It's gonna be everything is shaded around them.
So if I put these two on this, so or means
Put
to
them on
you.
one.
Okay, or means to unite. Do you agree?
Yeah.
So if I unite these two onto the same graph, I'm going to have a cross shape.
Yeah.
So this one's out.
Yes, that's it.
Okay. So you want to only look at things that have a cross shape and all solid lines. So let's see.
I don't even know what this bottom right one is. Can you scroll down?
Yeah, hang on a second.
Yeah, because we don't know it.
Oh, that's right. So okay, so there's my first 4. And on
It's
my
not gonna be that one either.
so you might want to show the shading on your graph. I had a hard time getting that. I need to go through and I guess take my original and shade it darker. But this one's out because of dotted lines, right? This one looks like a cross, but it's got dotted lines. So I'm going to cross out. This one is not the cross shape, and this one is not the cross shape. So those are all gone. So now I'm going to scroll to the next page.
Oh, you got more.
Yeah, there's 8 of them.
Okay, that makes more sense. It's like,
They're all solids.
There's 8. I couldn't get them all on the same page. All solids, but I need the cross shape.
So bottom left is out.
Bottom left is out because I don't have any horizontal lines.
so it's the bottom right. It's
Okay.
everything between.
Looks like it's the bottom right.
Well,
Or it could be top left.
But,
how do you know it's not
You-
this one
oh,
here?
Figure out their.
oh, shoot.
So now we got to look for intercepts.
Yeah.
So on this one, so look back at your originals and see if we have any nice intercepts,
X. Oh, 6.
which I can no longer see the original.
Wait.
You're gonna get.
Okay, move the 7 over. I get 6x is less than or equal to 1. So x is less than or equal to 1/6. And of course, then if you did the other one, it would give you greater than or equal to, let's see, 6x plus 7 is greater than or equal to -8. So if you subtract 7, you get 6x is greater than or equal to -14. So that's going to be 14 over 6, which is 7 over 2. -7 over 2. So so here's my 2 vertical lines. I should cross at -3.5 and positive 1/6. So which one does that? 1/6 positive and -3.5. I'd say
Well, they
it's,
both do -3.5.
yeah, but this one's not doing 1/6.
No.
Which one is it? That one is it? It's like a half.
See the
Yeah,
x is
You have to be like pretty much.
Yeah.
you got to cross the x-axis at 1/6, so that's super close to 0. So that's going to be this one right here.
You
Okay.
can tell by the arrow that it's a little bit off.
Yep. So that's the correct one.
I'm a freaking genius.
Okay, does that make sense?